Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge. We are brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. We've got a Monday Night Football heavy show as I say hi to Dan Casey, Ian Lights Out, Jason Pogwist, Magic Man, Darian are in here, Eric David. Thanks for showing up. Let's see how we did on the recap screen before we bring in the stars of the show. 13-10, but I got to point out here, 13-10 is good anyway. So many picks from last week, right? No shortage there, but look at all the plus money plays, the plus 400, the plus 160 from Buckets, the even money and plus 109 from Danny Brasco. A ton of plus money plays here. So big shout, Taft Gant, plus 140 on the Tommy Fleetwood bet top English point score. So we go 13-10, but we give you a lot of plus money winners. And a lot of these losers were plus money as well. The plus 300 that lost, the plus 350 that lost, the plus 185 that lost. This is a very good recap screen, but listen, we got to turn the page. That's 23 picks from last week that hadn't been settled yet. We've got a lot more picks to come, including your questions. We want your questions so we can give you picks on what you think you like for Monday Night Football tonight. Let's bring in the stars of the show. It's a busy week. We've got MLB playoffs starting. We'll have a special show for that, folks. We've got a golf tournament this week, Mike McClure. The Sanderson Farms preview. The betting show will be tomorrow at 7 o'clock on this channel. But Larry, we got to start with NFL. So we've got two games to talk about. And again, anybody who has a question, prop or game related, put it in the chat. I got to get your reaction from Sunday because I thought a lot went on yesterday that was very interesting. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you're looking back on yesterday?
While you were doing that beautiful intro, Sia, I was quickly searching to see if Pete Carroll had any explanation for, let's set up a 54-yard field goal to win the game. Let's not try to advance the ball any further. Predictably, the setup took a little while on the kick. It gets blocked. The Raiders go down. I mean, an absolute travesty. Or was it worse to see what A.D. Mitchell did to the Colts? Not only did he fumble the ball going into the end zone on what would have been a spectacular touchdown reception, he then was called for holding on Jonathan Taylor's long touchdown run. He took 14 points off the board, but the Colts, to me, still look very, very legit despite what happened there. Those are the first two things that jumped out at me.
The Raiders thing, I got to tell you, Larry, I had a live bet on a couple of different things in that game, and it was all me winning. All the live bets were predicated on the Raiders taking the lead and perhaps the Bears getting the ball back and advancing some yardage. But long story short, that was, Mike, in this day and age of NFL coaching, I understand 50-yard field goals are a lot easier, but the idea that you are going to set up for a 54-yard field goal instead of trying to advance the ball with plenty of time left, 5 or 10 yards, it seems so archaic. And frankly, if anybody was going to do it, I like Pete Carroll as a personality, but that seemed like such an old school coaching move to set up for that field goal. Your thoughts on that and your reaction to yesterday? I mean, your Chiefs looked very good, and they're just improving as the season goes along.
Yeah, look, I think Pete Carroll definitely stuck in his ways a little bit. Certainly would have liked to see a little more aggression in that particular spot. As far as Kansas City, yes, they look good. Having the threat of Xavier Worthy on the field alone is big, but it's also home field advantage in the NFL for the top tier teams. It just matters a ton, right? And Arrowhead's a difficult place to play, but Baltimore, they just did not look like they were prepared to play a football game that day. They were beat up with injuries, and they took a lot of injuries in game, but they were not prepared. I did not like the game plan that they had at all. Credit to the Chiefs and Mahomes, but we have to talk about the tie. I can't stand a tie in American football. As Buckets calls it American football, we have to drop the American if we're going to allow ties like that. It's so un-American to tie. Like I don't like it. I think that there has to be a better solution. I think it makes things interesting in the end of the season race. Green Bay, they're essentially playing for a tie at the end. I don't know. I want to see a winner. I don't like having games end in a tie.
Well, Larry, I had an SGP that I put out kind of at the last moment on Twitter that I know a lot of people tailed. It was plus 700 boosted to about plus 950. And every leg hit except for I had an alt line on the Broncos minus 2.5. And just like Mike Tirico yesterday, who didn't really know the overtime rules, it seemed pretty clear. He wasn't sure if we were going an extra session or not. Maybe I'm mischaracterizing that, but I was like, oh wait, do I have can we go another 15 minutes here? I mean, what do you think about the tie?
Yeah, it did feel like at some point they were intimating that if the game was still tied, that we were going to go to another session to decide a winner, that there was going to be another possession. And then they kind of corrected themselves. But I mean, Jordan Love continues to make some horrific decisions, and as well as Matt LaFleur towards the end of these halves and the end of these games to put them in these situations, letting the Cowboys go up before halftime. Trying to get greedy there. But yeah, the two games in Dallas this year have combined produced about 160 points, those two games. So it was very entertaining either way. And in terms of Survivor, if you were in Circus Survivor, you were eliminated.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That makes sense. James Rainwater says, I tailed you on one of your plays, Sia, won a massive parlay based off of your info. Well, that's great, because last week I didn't do you any favors. I missed almost really all the bets I made last week, except for one, the Matthew Golden one. I hit Matthew Golden again today. That one we hit very early. Let's try to hit some bets right now. And gentlemen, I have a future on an AFC team that I want you to consider later on in the show. It implicates one of these four teams that we're going to talk about today. But Mike, we're going to start out with some picks. And we're going to start out with, this is a Mike special. It's a first half team total. And you said you like home teams. You said you like good home teams. This isn't a good home team, but talk to me about the Dolphins team total.
I would argue they are a good home team. They're fine offensively when playing at home. I like the Dolphins here. We're going to go first half team total over 10.5 minus 110. As many of you know, we've been playing these and had a lot of success playing these early this season here. And just the key number becomes 13, right? Anything below 13 on a team favored in a spot where we know that they can score, that's going to be appealing to me. I love the spot for the Dolphins again. I think that they're going to be fine offensively. I think this game could turn into a little bit of a back and forth shootout late, but I like them early. I like a scripted drive. Again, I like that the receiving core is healthy, and it's a touchdown and 2 field goals in favorable environments. So it really just simply comes down to the number here at 10.5. I really think that this number should be 13.5. I know that it's not, and I know that the offense has not been necessarily great at all times, but I like this spot once again for them. I think that they should have plenty of success moving the football here. The Jets, if you look, do I think the Jets are as bad defensively as they've shown? Probably not. But until I see some big improvement, I think that the Dolphins can move the football against them pretty easily here. So when you look at the injury situation on both sides, I think that we're going to see offense in this game. I think it starts early with Miami here. So first half team total, looking for a touchdown and 2 field goals, 2 touchdowns, over 10.5.
All right. Dolphins first half team total over 10.5, says Mike McClure. Anthony Cottle in the chat. Larry, I'm going to bounce this one off you. He says, I wonder if Sia lost any tickets betting against my Jags yesterday. Well, I didn't. I was smart enough not to bet against your Jags yesterday, but Larry, on the prop show, I had mentioned that I didn't think the Jaguars defense was very good because of their opponents in the first few weeks of the season. That's not the sample size I'm looking for in terms of the quality of opponent. San Francisco, they're banged up, but certainly a little bit better of an opponent. Do we need to take the Jaguars seriously now?
I was on them yesterday, and I was thrilled to get all those turnovers, but I'm not ready to crown this defense. I will say that Campanelli, who came from Green Bay, the new defensive coordinator, has been stressing takeaways. I think they have 13 turnovers already, which is more than they had all year. Last year, it feels like. But Brock Purdy, to me, was one of the big issues. There were checkdowns that were there, and he was kind of shying away from them, and he was throwing it further downfield. The ball was getting deflected, so he wasn't on point. But it was huge for the Jags because the Colts losing, them winning, tied for first after 4 games.
Yeah, so the Jags certainly, Mike, a team I didn't believe in. Joe Neuenfeld in the chat, who we know and love, of course. He says, how does the Tennessee coach keep his job today? So a couple things. A couple things I might be wrong. I'll say one thing I might be wrong about and a couple things I might be right about. And then, Mike, I'm going to get your reaction to this comment. First of all, I have Houston win the AFC South. And so at around even money. So we'll see how that plays out, but it's not looking very good. Houston looks very bad. But a couple of plays I gave out at plus money on this show were the Titans under win total, again, at plus money, and the Saints win total at plus money. Excuse me, the Saints under win total at plus money, both looking very, very good. The argument, Mike, against Tennessee, and we'll get to more picks and your questions in a second, was this roster is terrible, almost as bad as the Saints roster. Actually, if you just take out the quarterback position, perhaps as bad, if not worse than the Saints roster. I don't know why you would blame the coach for this.
Yeah, it's a frustrating situation. Your coach is going to get blamed, often. I don't have a strong take one way or the other. I certainly don't think that he's done a great job, but I'm not sure what the expectations were as well. So I don't have a ton of comment on that other than the win total is looking good.
Larry, what's again? This is me kind of subtly patting myself on the back here for taking the alt win total under, because I don't know what position group is good here. When you're game planning for this team, what are you afraid of exactly?
I think there's more talent than they're showing on the field. When you're 3-18 against the spread, you don't score a point against Houston. I mean, and some of the coaching decisions that we've seen in the first few weeks, not knowing the rules about getting a receiver in bounds, some of the stuff that happened before halftime. There's plenty of ammunition there that warrants a change. Maybe they'll play it out because they do have a rookie QB, but to me, they do have some talent. And they shouldn't be this bad. Probably even more disturbing than them, though, is the Carolina Panthers. I mean, Bryce Young looked so lost and so almost uninterested. It did not want to see that Patriots front in his face, just getting rid of the ball. There's some tape going around of him just basically throwing the ball into the ground. There's a lot of bad teams that are matching up next week. It is almost a class. There's 6 or 8 of the worst teams are all playing each other next week.
Carolina went up 6-0 on the Patriots early yesterday, and I consider just opening my BetMGM or whatever app you use and hammering the Patriots, whatever the line was. It was probably -2.5 at that point. The fact that I didn't do that is one of the most negligent things I've ever just not done. All right, let's get to some SportsLine picks, and then Larry, we're going to get to your picks and my picks, and of course your questions for this game. We've got RJ White and Prop Bet Guy, 2 extremely sharp guys over at SportsLine. Jets-Dolphins over 44.5 at -112, says RJ White. And Devon Achane over 5.5 receptions, -108, says Prop Bet Guy. Mike, any commentary on this total tonight, 44.5?
Yeah, certainly would be leaning over. I think it could get very loose in the second half here. Like I said, unless we see something drastic from the Jets defensively, they on paper should be a better defense than they've shown on the field, but it has been a disaster so far this season. I think Miami, when you've got the skill position players healthy like this, I think we get a shootout back and forth. So personally, I could see this line maybe being 47.5 is where I could see it being. So, 44 is that key number, 43 and 44. You are going north of those 2 extremely key numbers, but I would be over or nothing here.
Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, 2 of the worst defenses in football, bar none. I mean, the Dolphins literally do not have an NFL cornerback out there right now. So if the Jets have any, air attack, they should feast. But the Jets lost Quincy Williams, their linebacker. Jermaine Johnson is not going to play. I mean, I think both teams are going to have a great offensive game.
Yeah, what's interesting coming into the show, and my mind can change coming into this show, right? I leaned the under because I thought both teams would take it out of the quarterback's hands. I mean, in Miami's case, you're going to throw the ball a little bit, but I think we're going to see a lot of the rushing attack from both teams and try to keep this game plan conservative. Of course, Justin Fields can run too. I thought we might see some clock running here, but 44.5 in this day and age, not a lot of points. So I understand. Before we get to Larry's picks, Jesse Welter, I'm going to answer this question, but Mike, I'm really going to throw this over your way. He says, and Jesse, you might be new to the show because I know we've talked about this a little bit before. He says, how heavily do y'all actually weigh betting trends over multiple seasons when there is so much variance with players, coaching staff, etc., e.g. the 3-18 ATS trend dating back to last year? I'm not exactly sure what trend you're
Titans. The Titans have only covered 3 times. Yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Larry. So Mike, I weigh those literally, me personally, I weigh those 0%. I am not interested in trends. Maybe trends that, if you want to call them trends that span a season that we're in, that's one thing. But something that goes back multiple seasons, to your point, different coaching staffs, different players, literally 0%. I don't even want to hear the trends, frankly. Although it's interesting, Larry, to your point, it's interesting, but I'm not going to factor that into the next Titans game in terms of evaluating it personally. Mike, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, essentially echo that. Definitely not looking at. You could tell me all the trends. I don't know any of them because it's not something I consider, not something I would use. The thing that I would point to is like I don't need the trend to show me that the Titans are 3-18 ATS. I see that in the other metrics that I'm using that they're just not a good football team, right? So yeah, no trends for me.
Larry, your thoughts? Go ahead, Larry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you guys. The one time I do like to look at them is like very unique situations. Like there was a trend that was very effective in terms of the teams the week before they go overseas for a game. There's so much planning, so many logistics. It's so out of their routine. They're creatures of routine. And I'm not sure how well it's holding the last year or two, although just thinking off the top of my head, the Browns are heading overseas and they were not ready to play yesterday, or maybe that was just the Lions. But the Vikings were, a week ago. So, but those trends to me that really make some sense and might have some impact, I do like to consider.
Yeah, those are trends you could almost put data behind, and I think that's the point. Like West Coast teams coming to the East Coast to playing a 1:00 game. Yeah, I kind of want to pay attention to that trend to some degree because I think body clock wise that would matter to a West Coast player playing at what they perceive to be 10 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, those things I don't even put in the trend category as much as I do. Okay, that makes sense just from a data standpoint. You might not be in the best condition. So there are trends I guess I want to pay attention to a little bit. But Larry, I want to pay attention to your picks. Talk to me. You've got to pick in each game here. So I'll tell you what, before we do that, because I got to give out my pick as well, let's take a break and hear a message from our partners.
Only CBS Sports can bring you big time during the heart of Saturday afternoons. It's big time.
It's big time. It's big time. It's big time.
On CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. J-Met says, counselor, please, should the contestants who cheated on the challenge have been kicked off the show? Everybody knows I'm a big challenge person. If you're a challenge person, you watch that show, let me know in the chat so I can flag you. We can have these conversations. I haven't watched the latest episode. I'm caught up until that last episode. I know somebody cheated and got kicked off. Actually don't know who it is, so don't spoil it for me. J-Mets, they probably should have been kicked off. All right, Larry, let's get back to sports. Talk to me about your Dolphins play, and then you've got to play on Chase Brown.
Yeah, well, Justin Fields comes back from his concussion, but in that first game back from a concussion, we have seen various QBs struggle, and I think they will have plenty of success or intermittent success against this Dolphins defense, which is so bad, but I really just love the Dolphins offense against the Jets defense. The Jets defense under Steve Wilks, who I don't think was a good hire, shouldn't have been Aaron Glenn's first hire. 93 points allowed for this Jets defense. Don't have their linebacker, Quincy Williams. Don't have Jermaine Johnson coming off the edge. The Dolphins have extra rest, and they played a very good game in Buffalo. They should have been getting the ball back with a chance to win in the fourth quarter, and instead they rough the punter, and the Bills go on to win that game. Luckily for me, because I had the Bills in Survivor that week. But the Dolphins basically outplayed the Bills and had a great scheme of getting the ball out of Tua's hands very quickly to Devon Achane. They didn't let the rush get to him. And if you look at the Dolphins' schedule, they got the Panthers, they have the Browns coming up. They do have the Chargers coming to them, but the Chargers are very banged up. They could go on a 4-game winning streak and be 4-3 very easily. So I don't think their season is over by any means. It has to start tonight with a win at home over the pathetic Jets. In a high-scoring game, I do like that over a lot, but I'll take the Dolphins to win by at least 3. And then in the late game, which is not so late, it's not super late tonight, I'm going Chase Brown under on rushing yards. It does seem a little chalky when the guy rushes for 3 yards on 10 carries last week. We know he's still the lead back, but they did mix in Taj Brooks, the rookie. Samaje Perine got some carries. They're trying anything. It's really not all his fault. The O-line is creating basically negative yards before contact. Every single metric, he or Cincinnati is last in the league in rushing. And what I love is this is an angry, frustrated Denver team coming off heartbreaking losses to the Colts and to their division rival, the Chargers. And they're at home where they've won their last 6 home games by an average of 20 points. And to me, the game script is not going to favor Chase Brown getting a big workload here. I'm going under 54.5.
I totally agree, Larry. Let me bounce this off of you because this is a play that I considered making official, but I don't think I'm going to get around to it. Chase Brown over 18.5 receiving yards. We know this pass rush is going to get there on Jake Browning. And yeah, of course, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins to some degree are going to be involved. But the dump downs, we saw it last week a little bit too. The dump downs to Chase Brown, I think, are going to be there. 18.5 in a likely negative game script makes some sense to me.
Totally. I mean, that's his better skill set anyway. Has had some massive games through the air. Yeah, I like that a lot.
So another thing that I like in this game, and we'll get to my pick, and then we'll get to your questions in the chat. And I also have a future to bounce off Larry and Mike before we get to the chat questions. I'm going J.K. Dobbins over 61.5 rush yards at -114. You know, week one, I had one of the props I hit was, I think it was J.K. Dobbins over 11.5 rush attempts at +114. The reason it was +114 back in week one was because people thought RJ Harvey was just going to be like the next thing, and they were probably going to split carries week one, and then week two, RJ Harvey was going to take over, and by week four, it would be RJ Harvey's backfield. Well, that's clearly not the case. The trusted running back in this offense is J.K. Dobbins, and we're seeing that with the rush attempts, although last week was kind of a funny game script. He only had 11 rush attempts, but RJ Harvey only had 2, and we had Bo Nix rushing 8 times. The 2 weeks prior to that, we had significant rushing attempts from J.K. Dobbins, so I think the rushing attempts are going to be there. His rushing attempt total projection is like 14.5. I think it's juiced to the over, so we're looking at 14 to 15 carries against a Cincinnati defense that doesn't really stop anything, including the run. I think J.K. Dobbins is improving week to week. You look at his yards per carry. Week one, it wasn't very efficient at all. Week two, it was much better, over 5 yards per carry. And in week three, I think it was in the 7 or 8 yards per carry range. So J.K. Dobbins not only has been more efficient, but he's clearly the leader. It's not just a 1-1A thing. It's a one thing for J.K. Dobbins. And in this type of game, where you got to go with guys that you trust, because Sean Payton has really given a couple of games away. It's not just his fault, but this Denver team has given some games away. You're going to lean on your number one running back, a guy that's actually proven to be efficient and solid for you through 3 weeks. So give me J.K. Dobbins over 61.5 rushing yards. I put this out on SportsLine. This number was at BetMGM, and every other place, FanDuel, DraftKings, had 64.5, 65.5. I'm okay playing it up to 65.5. I mean, if you can get 64, that would be great. I think BetMGM is still hanging the 61.5, but if they have it up to 63, totally fine. Once it gets past 65, I think you're kind of playing with fire a little bit here. So again, trying to get the best number, give me J.K. Dobbins over 61.5 rushing yards at -114. Let me get to my future, and then we'll get to the questions. Larry, I'm going to go to you first here. So I was big on the Denver Broncos coming in. Mike knows that. He was big on the Chargers, and so far Chargers are looking like the better team. They got certainly the better record. Broncos probably going to be 2-2 after this week. There's an argument. You could say this about a lot of teams. They should be 4-0. There's an argument. Well, let's say 3-1, whatever the case may be. The point is they're not. And that's good from an odds standpoint, because when you look at BetMGM, who has the best futures odds on the Denver Broncos, to win the AFC, they're now 18-1. To win the Super Bowl, they're 40-1. I want to lock in on this AFC Championship winner, though, because I think this Broncos team, especially when you look at their schedule the next few 3, 4, 5 games, I think this Broncos team is, listen, they're not the Chiefs and they're not the Chargers necessarily, although I think, they probably should have beat the Chargers last. I think 18-1, you're not going to get a number longer than this, because this Broncos team is way better than their record indicates. And if you're going to jump in because you liked the Broncos early in the year, there's nothing they've done on the field that intimidates me from the idea that they're a really good football team. And now that the Ravens have sunk a little bit, the Chiefs look good, but not amazing. The Bills are vulnerable. We saw them almost lose to the Dolphins last week. I think the Broncos at 18-1 is pretty good value. What say you?
Yeah, it's an interesting look, because at that number, you just got to get them to the championship game so that you can, hedge off that and get some really good payback on that. But I mean, you said there hasn't been anything that's concerned you. I don't know if you've seen Bo Nix play the first 3 weeks.
I have, but he's listen. Larry, let me interrupt you. Hold on.
Locking in on Courtland Sutton.
Larry. I understand all of that. But he's had so many near misses where he's missed a receiver by 1 or 2 yards. The variance on that, and just like it's a game of inches. Like if he hits a couple of those long balls, which he has in the past, all of a sudden we're talking about Bo Nix in a very different way. Carry on.
No, I agree with you. I think he's going to get a lot better. Again, last year he started off really, really slowly and then came on. I didn't expect it at the start of his second year, like his rookie year. But yeah, he's close. He just needs to not lock in on Courtland Sutton so much, and also not be so eager to run. I mean, it feels like he's just looking to run, but he'll get it. And I know Sean Payton, and he will figure it out probably starting tonight.
Mike, your thoughts on an 18-1 or a 40-1 to win the Super Bowl?
I mean, look, they're big. They're attractive numbers. I think it's still a pretty big uphill battle. I want to see how they look head-to-head against Kansas City the first time they play each other. That'll tell me a lot about both of those teams. I mean, everything's going through Buffalo, right? So are they going to go late season on the road in Buffalo and win that game? I personally don't think so.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It's an attractive number. You're probably looking to bet something and then ultimately cash out. But, I don't like to bet something just to know that I'm going to cash out at some point. I want to really, really have some upside. So personally, I would feel better about waiting it out. Look, say the Broncos beat the Chiefs and they are clearly in a playoff spot, right? Like for me right now, the Broncos are not a lock to even make the playoffs, right? They're not even, it's up in the air. They're probably, to me, they're much closer to 50% to make the playoffs right now at this point. Because of that, I'd much rather wait because, like, say they get in the playoffs, they're a wild card. You're still going to be catching 7-8 to 1 to win the AFC Championship at that point with way more information in hand. So that's how I would play it personally.
All right. Maybe to make the playoffs number would be interesting as well, because I do like Denver to really bounce back. All right, let's go to some questions in the chat. Jen says, Bo Nix, Larry, I'll go to you. Bo Nix under 31.5 pass attempts at -118. We like these completions and pass attempts props. I would lean slightly to the under here. I think this is a good look.
Yeah, definitely lean under if they get the big lead and they get the running game going. But I just think that Sean Payton wants to put up a big Bo Nix game on paper. If he can have a monster game, he wants to do it. And he's not going to care what the score is. So lean under, though.
Mike, do you ever hit longest rush props? Josh Davis says J.K. Dobbins over 14.5 longest rush -120.
I don't mind it. I generally prefer longest market in receptions more so than in rushing. I'm certainly not interested in playing Dobbins under on the 14.5.
Yeah, I'm not interested in the under there. I have a lean to the over there because of the Cincinnati defense. I'm not big on Dobbins springing long runs necessarily, but I do think we see a lot of 6 to 10 yard a few, at least 6 to 10 yard carries there, but I would lean to the over. Zach Kasenki asked Garrett Wilson +170 to get a touchdown. What do we think? Do we run to the betting window? Larry, I'll go to you on this one.
Against this secondary, this Dolphins secondary, he should have a field day. I think he does score. Would want a little bit higher than that, but do think he scores tonight.
Ray Garcia says he's wondering if we are hammering the Dolphins -2.5. That question came out, Larry, before you gave out your pick. So perhaps the answer is yes. Bet responsibly, Ray Garcia. Jen M says Braylon Allen over 4.5 rush attempts. Is that an alt line? Dolphins money line, Dolphins first half team total over 9.5 is +275. Ooh, Mike. I mean, Braylon's been cutting into Breece Hall's work, so I don't mind that one. Dolphins money line, certainly don't mind that. Dolphins first half team total. I think +275 is a nice number. What do you think?
I think it's a decent number on it. I would consider dropping the Dolphins money line from it and just playing team total over at that number, or dropping the team total over and betting on the Dolphins' success over the course of the game. Would probably be where I would be. It's not bad though. Not bad.
Yeah, I wonder, Jen, what the number is with Braylon Allen over 4.5 rush attempts and Dolphins first half team total over 9.5. Obviously, it's not nearly as fun, but I got to say, like with my SGPs that I've been putting out, the one leg that seems to not be hitting is when I'm taking a team to cover a spread. Like it's like 5 props and a team on an alt line or a team on a money line, and that's the leg that's not coming in. So I think if you get a plus number on that Braylon Allen and Dolphins first half team total, I think that would be pretty good. Let's see. Thoughts on laddering Evan Ingram receiving yards? Line is 17.5. Larry, are we comfortable with the status of Evan Ingram? We know he's playing. I don't hate this, but I just don't know what Evan Ingram's role is going to be.
Yeah, I think he's good to go. I like Troy Franklin a lot tonight with Marvin Mims banged up, questionable at this moment. And he has to find somebody else than Cortland Sutton to throw the ball to. And Troy Franklin can beat man coverage since he plays a lot of man coverage. Cam Taylor-Britt does come back for Cincinnati. He's an excellent corner, but he's dealing with a hamstring. So, maybe he's a little bit iffy. I like Troy Franklin tonight to score and maybe to get a long one. He already has a 42-yard catch this season.
This is a good segue into our first touchdown scores because Larry, you and I agree on Troy Franklin as a potential first touchdown scorer. He's been on the field a ton. It's just a matter of, how he gets targeted. Let's throw up the first touchdown scores, Ben, and see what we've got. So me and Larry chose one for each game. Mike, you're on Jamar Chase this would be the second game, right? At 10-1. Talk to me.
Yeah, 10-1. Look, it fits in a 10-1 or greater criteria. Number one, Jamar Chase still absolutely elite. Look, you could potentially get a scripted drive and maybe one of their only scores of the night. But I certainly would still be looking to bet on talent on Jamar Chase alone. He's the kind of player that can still take a 6-yard pass, 60, 70 yards with his ability to break a tackle. So it's mostly just a number. If they were healthy and everything here, you're talking about Jamar Chase being 6-1. So yeah, give me Chase 10-1.
Larry, you and I are on Troy Franklin. You just talked about him. Anything to expand upon with his 13-1 number as a first touchdown score?
Well, not on Troy, but I do like Chase because, Browning will feed him over and over again. But Ollie Gordon up there at 16-1, I probably like even more. If you watch that Dolphins opening drive last week against Buffalo, they gave it to Gordon at the goal line. He powered in from 2 yards out. And in the first 2 weeks, he got almost nothing. Well, like 3 carries combined. And everybody was like, where's the camp star, Ollie Gordon? Well, last week, he had 9 carries. They're raving about, how he, quote, handled that success, that he's doing it the right way. So I just think they're going to run all over the Jets, with Achane and then with Ollie Gordon, hopefully near the goal line.
Yeah, he's cutting into the work, certainly, but he's cutting into the work even more. You might have just said this, Larry, inside the 5, inside the 10. And his running style, honestly, if I'm the Dolphins, I'm giving Ollie Gordon a lot of rushing attempts, not just inside the red zone, because that's the type of style, especially at home, you want to incorporate. Just that kind of like we think of the Dolphins as this soft finesse team because they are. You got a guy like Ollie Gordon, he can be a battering ram, like set the culture, set the tone early with some rushes for him. Troy Franklin, I agree with Larry on at 13-1. And Garrett Wilson, I found a 10-1. At DK, there was a 10-1. You can get this at 9 or 8.5-1, depending on the book. But I thought that was a really fair number because Garrett Wilson, we talk about Jamar Chase getting force fed. Garrett Wilson is certainly going to get force fed. And if he's been doing a lot with substandard quarterback play. So I like him at 10-1. Maybe the Jets grab an early lead. Gipper's picks. In fantasy, I have Hall, that's Breece Hall, starting. Should I bench him for Dobbins or Cortland Sutton? It's my flex position, and he only needs 7 points to win. I assume this is PPR. Larry, how would you handle this?
Wow, that's a tough one. I think Breece Hall is going to have a good game. I think he's going to be excellent as a receiver. If you look at the way the Dolphins have given up just a ton to opposing running backs, I think he's going to have a huge game catching passes. But Gip, you're on your own.
Mike, what would be your advice here?
Hall pretty strongly.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got
especially needing 7. It's a different story if you need 20, but at 7, I just bet on the volume from Breece Hall.
And just to be clear, if you needed 20, would you take the upside of Sutton? Is that where you'd go?
Likely. Yeah, but honestly, I think it'd be Hall across the board for me here.
Go ahead, Larry.
And see, the only reason I sound a little bit bitter with Gip is because I am. We had a showdown with the Texans, Buccaneers, and, he came back to beat me on the last play. I had to Venmo him the money, so that's why I'm bitter and I'm holding a grudge until that season.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe he's giving you bad advice. Just listen to Mike on this one. Darren Mercurio, Mike wants to know, would you take the Dolphins at 11.5 at -110?
Yeah, so in the first half of a game, I know we see 10 and 11 and think there's a difference. There's essentially no difference between 10.5 and 11.5 in the first half of an NFL game. In the second half or in a game in, crazy weather conditions where we could see scenarios where going for 2 is like the given default outcome, then that it can come into play at that particular point. But to me, there's no difference. And when you talk about like from a simulation standpoint, it's less than 0.5% different. So no difference in 10.5 or 11.5. The key number in all of these first half team totals in today's NFL is going to be 13. Anything on the other side of 13, so 13 itself or 13 and a half, very, very different, a lot more difficult to hit. 12 and a half and below, where it's truly cash ticket with touchdown and 2 field goals, that's where you want to be.
Mike, is it the same principle for first half totals when you're looking at 20 and a half versus 21 and a half versus 22 and a half?
A little bit. It's more so when you're isolating just one team, like you're talking about the limited opportunities, the motivation, right? So again, you're very rarely going to see a 2-point conversion even attempted in the first half of a game. But yeah, I mean, the numbers do become extremely key, but still a lot of difference in isolating one team versus the full game, whether it be in a half or a full game.
Larry, question from Big E 89. He says, how do we feel about Tua over 1.5 passing touchdowns? He doesn't have the juice associated with it. So usually Big E try to put that there as well. I don't love this one because of what I think they're going to do near the goal line in terms of trying to run the ball and establish that. But again, I don't know the number. Thoughts on Tua's just game in general or passing for 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, I mean, I need the juice to figure that one out. But I agree with you, C. I think they're going to get in the end zone via the run.
I'll say this as well. I lean to Tua's completions. In some markets are 22 and a half and in some are 23 and a half. I like the under. I do think, obviously, we know how this offense runs near the line of scrimmage. It should be pretty efficient for him. But I think 23 and a half is a lot for a team that I think is maybe going to run the ball a little bit more than normal. So I'm just throwing that out there. That was a play I was leaning on. We have a CBS Sports Network 12 o'clock show. It's going to be me and Larry. Are you on that one with Mackenzie and Danny Brasco?
I am.
Okay, so it's us 4. And then at the end of that show, Tom Casale and Emery Hunt come on. We're going to be talking more picks. And I will tell you that that's a pick I will be leaning on a little bit as well. Here's the schedule for CBS Sports Network. And of course, you see the early edge schedule. That's standard. Monday at noon, Wednesday at noon, Wednesday at 1 p.m. Those are the college picks and the NFL picks, Wednesday at noon and 1 p.m. And then Friday, of course, the prop show at 1 o'clock with me, Claudia, Dave, Richard, and Prop Stars. Let's see. Do we have anything else, Larry? Were there any questions you needed to get to before we get to the recap screen?
Tua minus 125. I'm not going to lay that juice on that specific prop.
Yeah, me neither. Mike, anything in the chat that you saw that we needed to get to?
No. What was the prop on Tua? The minus 125? Was that over 1.5 touchdowns?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So my advice there would be, if you like that, simply maybe play the Dolphins team total over 23.5. It's a 24 becoming a very key number there. If you think Tua's throwing for 2 of them, I prefer just betting on the team's success under some of those key numbers.
That makes a ton of sense. All right, I think that's it. I want to give Ben a shout out, not just for running the show. And for the record, we just showed the schedule for this week. We're going to pop up on your feed with a wild card show. We're not exactly sure when we're doing it, but an MLB wild card show either today or tomorrow, conceivably Wednesday early. We'll see, but we're probably going to have the likes of Mike McClure, A-Mags, and Sniper doing that show. So look out for that. It's a wild card special. Again, we're still in the process of scheduling that. And then tomorrow, Mike, I'm not sure if you're going to be part of the betting show tomorrow, but either way, tomorrow at 7 o'clock, we've got a Sanderson Farms betting preview. So don't forget that. It's the fall swing. We have tournaments during the fall swing. There's already guys that I like that I'm going to be putting some outright money on. So give a look to that tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And again, a big shout out to Ben, because not only is he running this show and not only is he on camera for us a lot of times, but he's super sharp. Larry, Ben's been hitting like some of these smaller school big dogs. He's been hitting and this isn't a surprise to us. We know he caps games, but we got to give Ben a little bit more love, right?
Yeah, I mean, Ben is a man of many talents. He's capping games. You're seeing write-ups on other sites come through the feed. I'm seeing stuff like 5-0. I can't verify it. I just know that he did hit the Utah State play on the website, on our show, excuse me.
Larry, what are you implying? You can't verify it.
I'm sure verify what I saw is what I'm saying. I know Ben would not inflate his record, but I'm just getting a glimpse of stuff that comes over my feed.
Well, speaking of verifying things, if you want to become a member of SportsLine and see all of our verified picks, our wins and losses, this entire NFL college football season, go to sportsline.com/join, type in the promo code winners, and you get 60% off the annual plan. Again, that's sportsline.com/join. Type in the promo code winners, you get 60% off the annual plan. That gives you everything that SportsLine has to offer, which is way more than you think if you've never been there before. But it also gives you access to the SportsLine Discord, which is one of the best features, in my opinion, of SportsLine.
Somebody, excuse me, Sia, to interrupt, but somebody last night in the Discord, because RJ hit another halftime bet and his live bets, and somebody just said, I can't remember the last time RJ has missed one of these halftime bets. That's how good he's been in the Discord. But RJ didn't have a record of it because he's saying he's just putting out there what he's betting live, and for the most part, they're hitting.
That's what I love. Like, you can dip into that and ask a question, or maybe RJ's already there, dishing out some picks. So definitely get into the Discord if you are a SportsLine member. All right. Let's see. It was Liddy. He said Ben is the best EE capper. I mean, we got Mike and Larry on the screen. Liddy, that's not fair. Liddy's a very good capper too. So either way, that's good stuff. Ben is really talented in a number of ways. Let's get to the recap screen before we get you all out of here. Dobbins, J.K. Dobbins, over 61.5 rushing yards at -114. Safe to play this. I shouldn't say safe. I'm okay with playing this up to 65.5. Try to grab the 61 if you can, or 64, 63. But again, I like the over 61.5. Put that on SportsLine last night. Dolphins -2.5, -118, says Larry Hartstein. And Chase Brown under 54.5 rushing yards at -118. And again, I had a lean. I might put this as an official play, but I had a lean on Chase Brown over receiving yards of 18.5. I also had a lean on Tua's completions under, if you can get it at 23.5, which I believe you can at BetMGM specifically. Mike likes the Dolphins first half team total over 10.5 at -110. Pepperjack says, great show. Pepperjack, I haven't seen you in the chat. Thank you for saying that. Really appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribed to this SportsLine YouTube channel. SportsLine picks. Jets-Dolphins over 44.5 at -112, says RJ White, who you can find in the SportsLine Discord all the time. Devon Achan over 5.5 receptions at -108, says prop bet guy. We don't have home run props because, well, we don't have baseball today. But Wild Card Show coming your way. So instead of MLB home run props, how about some first touchdown props? Garrett Wilson, Troy Franklin, two of us on Troy Franklin, Ollie Gordon, and Jamar Chase. Those are a few first touchdown scores for the two Monday Night Football games. Brad Moore says, good luck and have a great day. God bless. Liddy says, have a good day, y'all. Boots on the ground for Dodgers-Cincinnati game 1. Have fun at that. Ladies and gentlemen, what a great show. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Ben, on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. We'll be here tomorrow at 10 o'clock, folks. Don't forget, we've got the golf show tomorrow at 7 o'clock as well. We'll be on CBS Sports Network later on at 12 o'clock, and that programming will be on the YouTube feed if you want to catch it there later on in the day. Thanks for joining us today. I'm the Counselor of Cash. We rest our case.